A lot of times we think laws are just to be broken. They're there just because they're trying to ruin our fun. Actually, that's not really true at all. The laws are there because you'll become enslaved with lawlessness if you don't obey. It's like God's manual. This is his manual right here. This is his manual for success, and you don't have to follow it. But you're going to crash and burn. Your life's going to, you're going to get roasted on a spit by the devil, probably if you don't follow it. And a lot of times you think, oh, I'm just living for myself. Don't kid yourself. You're in the light or you're in the dark. You're following Jesus, you're following Satan. Come on, it's just what it is. Okay? Oh yeah, well I have a free will and I can just choose any kind of sin I want. Well, yeah, and then Satan will put you on the spit and he'll roast you, and then he'll roast you eternally, and you'll get to go to hell. No get out of jail free. No $500, collect, going around, Monopoly games. Because he plays for keeps, the devil does. It's for keeps, for eternity, forever. Okay? So you get to go when I went to see a local family, and I told them, well, Jesus is up, and if you make him your Savior, you go up when you die. Okay? When I died in 1985, I went, bam! I was like, whoa, flying through them. Whoa, where am I going? And I looked down, and they're working feverishly on me because I had a baby inside. And they're pumping my heart and shocking me and all this stuff. And I'm, whoa, I'm going. And I'm headed towards heaven. And in a few minutes I'm standing there, and there's this huge throne that looks like it's alabaster with light coming out. Jesus walks down these stairs, and he looks at me, and there's angels singing this anthem it's like a landing strip going in like on an airplane. You come flying from the earth, and you boom, wow, and there's like a landing strip. There's all these angels, and then here he comes, and I'm going, wow. I think my mom must be dead, yeah, because you look at you. There I am, and here I am, and there you are, and then about that time they shocked my heart, and I flew backwards and went all the way back and fell back in my body, and then immediately I left again. We did this 6 times. So I got a real good look because I went there quite a few times in a few minutes. Okay? You see, heaven is real, and you go, oh, that woman, she's nuts. Well, I hope you don't have to die to find out. You should take my word for it because I was already there. I've been there a whole lot more than once. The point is, it's real. You either follow Christ, you go to heaven, and if you don't want to go with him, he's not going to force you to. Well, God's a good God. He just makes everybody go to heaven. No, he doesn't. If you hate him, he's not going to force you against your will to go visit him for eternity. We're all Christ's children, and we're all the sons of God. So there's no wickedness in this earth. Is that right? You're telling me you've never met a wicked person in your life? No. Some of them belong to the devil. Some belong to Jesus. Okay? Got a big chessboard going here. Chess game, dark and light. Jesus and Satan. Okay? And we're in the midst of this, but you get to choose who plays you. Whose side are you on? That's the way it goes. So we're going to talk about that freedom is not lawlessness. It's lawfulness. Because tomorrow's the 4th of July. Of course, I'm going to give you the Bill of Rights because most of the people that live in America don't even know what the Bill of Rights is, and they don't even know what their rights are. There are many people that come from other countries that come and they live here. They've never looked at the Bill of Rights. They don't understand that legally you have rights because there's a Constitution and the amendments in the Bill of Rights that means that there are certain things that cannot be done to you. The law is protecting us. Oh, let's get rid of all the policemen. Yeah, 101 or something over the weekend, 101 shootings in Chicago. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into the autonomous zone. Who are they kidding? Autonomy. Yeah, all these guys have got like heavy artillery standing around the edges. This place. Oh, I feel real safe now. A bunch of drug addicts and terrorists have got a whole bunch of, machine pistols and all kinds of assault rifles, and they're going to protect us. Within 2 days, when they took those 6 blocks, they were telling all the business owners and people that they needed to pay them for protection money. Who does that sound like? That's mafioso, Mary. Italiano, mafioso.
Yeah.
And within 48 hours, they were saying, you're going to pay us money, we'll protect you, yeah? Okay, I'm pretty sure that was included on top of the fact that they're defacing and stealing all the goods out of the stores. And, I mean, we're just protesting. No, we're thieves, robbers, terrorists. There was, in that time, 6 shootings in less than 3.5 weeks. 6 shootings. 2 people died outright, bled to death because they wouldn't let any 911 or any police in there to stop the violence. Do you know how many BLM, Black Lives Matter, do you know out of 6 shootings, 4 critically injured, 2 dead, how many black people were killed? Or injured? 5. 1 white guy died. Oh, Black Lives Matter, huh? Oh, that's a pile of crap. Bunch of terrorists, Antifa members, nonsense. Lawless terrorists taking away the freedom. You know how many people live in that 6 block area? 100,000 people that couldn't go in and out of their homes, couldn't get to grocery stores. They were terrified for their lives. All this rioting right outside their windows of their houses, and they're terrified. They're living inside. So the rights of this autonomous zone were more important than the rights of 100,000 tax-paying people. Someone needs to do electroshock therapy to Durkin.
This is in Washington.
Seattle.
Seattle.
So we're going to get into this, because freedom is not lawlessness. The rights of that few usurped the rights of 100,000 people and terrorized them, and critically injured and 4 and killed 2. This is horrible. What are we doing? What kind of lies? We're so stupid we can't even figure out the numbers. 100,000 people paying taxes, so that these people, all these people who are on some kind of state assistance, can riot and terrorize and break down all the businesses and steal everything in the stores. And then they're hungry and they would like to have us bring in vegetarian plates. Someone gets shot, they call 911, but they don't want any police. They don't even want the ambulance to come in there. The guy bleeds to death right on the side of the road, right on the sidewalk. A black kid. You see, we have lost our brains. It's like, what is it, mush? It doesn't work anymore. It's crazy. Don't believe those lies. It's a pile of crap. Okay, so James Madison wrote the Bill of Rights, okay? And I'm going to run through it really quick because I want you to understand, because you live in America and you should know what it means to be here, and that the law is keeping you safe, and these are your freedoms. Freedom that is given to you by the law. Okay? Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peacefully assemble. Say peacefully. Okay? Peacefully assemble. Not break out all of the jewelry stores and steal all the stuff and kill a couple of kids out on the road and then keep the police away so no one can stop the violence and they bleed out because no ambulance is allowed behind the autonomous zone. How many would like that, what was his name? Raz or something, that stupid rapper that was going to be the guy in charge of this whole autonomous zone? How would you like him for the president? You either obey him or you get raped or killed. That's nice. Number 2, this is your Bill of Rights. If you live in America, this is what your rights are. Right to bear arms, that you can protect yourself. If someone breaks into your house, you have a right. If they're going to hurt somebody in the house, you have a right to shoot them. You have a right to protect your life, to protect your property. There was a guy in McCloskey or something down in, I think it was St. Louis, and there was like all these BLM members broke down this gate. There was like 300 of them, terrorists, and they started to advance upon him, and it was like 40 yards from the house, 300 people throwing things and cursing him because he was a well-to-do man, and he came out with his assault rifle, and his wife had a little pistol. And because they stood up, the BLM members left. have a right to bear arms, they would have ransacked the house, hurt the man, and stolen everything in that large, luxurious home that he had worked for his entire life. The question that I have is, why is it that people who don't work feel that they should have everything given to them that people have worked for? Okay? Why do people think it should be handed them on a silver platter when they don't deserve it because they haven't worked? But they want to take away someone else's hard labor. You guys know, you're away from your families, you're out on the ocean, you're in some retail store. I worked my whole darn life. I'm 68 years old. I had homes for the elderly. I ran 18-hour days. Don knows about this. There's so many needs, we're just like, they're piling up on me if I stop for 5 seconds. And I serve those old people, and I serve them night and day. If they're down, I'm at their bedside. If they're in trouble, their diabetes, alcohol, I'm there. If they're bleeding somewhere, I'm there. Okay? I worked on call my whole darn life. And why should someone take everything I've worked for and take away my children's educations because they don't work? What's that about? Okay? You get what you work for. And when you get what you don't work for, you become spoiled and lazy. You know, in the communist regime, when the CCP took over, or actually Russia, in Russia, the Bolsheviks took over, and they had all these people with all this land, these huge big farms. They fed their entire country with all these farms. And these farmers didn't want to give up their land because it was in the family for generations. You know what they did? They killed them all, execution style, at the back of the head. Killed them and threw them into shallow graves. Then they moved everyone from the city that had never farmed or milked a cow or anything else out to the farms, right? And then Russia is starving because the people who knew what to do were killed, and they gave the job to someone who had never done more than just punch a typewriter. And every time the rain came and every time a storm came, they ran in because they didn't want to get wet. And Russia began to starve because of their idiocy, giving people things that they don't deserve and they don't know how to take care of.
I think 20 million people died in that famine.
I think it was. They starved.
Yeah.
They starved to death. The Russians starved to death. And you know what? If you go to Red Square, you'll see these beautiful onion domes with all the gold roofs. Guess what? Lenin and Stalin lived in palaces while the whole nation starved. The whole nation starved. Oh, the workers' nation. Well, some of them are more worthy and more elite than the others, okay? This thing does not work to have everybody equal because people need to have what they have worked for or they will never value it. Try having a kid that's getting out of high school and you give him a car. I've been there, done there, I got the plaque. And look what happens to that car because he doesn't have any money invested in it. It's all screwed up, drives it without enough oil in it, burns up the engine, runs over stuff, thinks it's a four-wheel drive vehicle when it's actually just an old car and shouldn't be rolled over on Saddle Road, this Audi. I mean, it's upside down, Mom. I go, what the heck? Okay. Because he didn't deserve it because he never had $1 in it. Same thing with everybody. Okay? I sound a little passionate, don't I? Because you will never be happy when people give you stuff for free.
Did you give your son a car?
I did. What? They shared it, the two of them. The two of them.
Oh.
I said, have you been drinking? He goes, only one beer. And I go, but don't call the police. I'll be up there soon. Okay.
Well, that's so
All right, so I'm telling you that when people get things for free, they don't give a darn about them. And they ruin them. Right? This is what happens. Okay, so the right to bear arms. That means that if someone would break into my house, have a pistol, but you either get your little biffy out that front door, or I'm going to shoot you right where the sun doesn't shine. Okay? because I have a right to protect myself from rape or murder or any of those things. As Americans, we have that right to bear arms. Number 3, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner. Except you can't just marry in this house she's trying to sell. A whole bunch of Russian people moved in next door. They were squatters, but they pretended that it was rent to own. And so they're fixing up the house. She says, oh, hi, rent to own, yeah. And then pretty soon there's a million Russian people living in there, and the water's coming from somewhere, but it's probably they're tapping your line. But anyway, the point is, you can't just squat in a house. Someone owns it, you need to pay your rent, okay? So we have a right to receive rent on property that we have. People can't just come in and just live there for free. Number 4, the right for people to secure their homes, their papers, all of their against unreasonable searches. It's like the government can't come in unless there is an actual warrant for your arrest and it's issued because there's probable cause because you did something wrong. They can't just show up at your house and come in. I think when you guys first moved up to the, what was that place? Coloco? Up that little place, what's that called? Coloco. They were sleeping in the middle of the night the first couple of nights, and all of a sudden the police come into their unit because there was someone before them that was committing criminal acts, and they're sound asleep, and all of a sudden the police and the dogs going cuckoo, and they go, what's happening here? But it was, yeah, it was your client. But anyway, the point is he was gone and they were there, and probably there was probable cause for them to come in. But they can't come into your house if there's no probable cause, that there's no reason they can come in, search your house, rifle through your papers, rifle through your belongings, unless there's probable cause. See, the law protects us from this kind of thing. Probable cause. Number 5, no person will have to answer to a capital crime like murder unless they have a jury present. And this is really funny because this is a very old statute, number 5. But everybody, when they've been caught in, I watched Jeffrey Epstein. I plead the 5th. I plead the 5th. The 5th. Every answer was I plead the 5th. And this is what it says. No person shall be held to answer for a capital crime to incriminate themselves unless they're indicted by a grand jury. Like they cannot say what they know. They can just say, I plead the 5th, I'm not going to perjure myself by lying, but I'm not going to tell you the truth because then I'll go to jail. So they can say, I plead the 5th, I'm not going to end up incriminating myself. Okay? And they will have to bring it before a grand jury. And if this jury says that they have done criminal things, the jury, it can never be retried. It'll be tried one time, and the jury will say this is criminal activity, and then they'll get their just desserts from that. Okay. So pleading the 5th. This I watched Jeffrey Epstein. I think he said it about. It looked like in the time I watched it about 45 or 50 times. The 5th. I didn't want to incriminate myself, so I'm not going to tell you anything. Okay. Number 6. That all criminal prosecutions are supposed to have a speedy trial. Well, some of these things go on for years because they just keep hiring all these fancy attorneys trying to protect their criminal activities. But there's supposed to be a speedy trial, and the longer I went to court, from 1989 all the way till 2001. This was no speedy trial. This went on. He just kept dragging me to court. I was there so many times, I'm losing count after a while. He just kept taking me back and wearing me out with litigation. It should have been a speedy trial. They were in violation of the 6th Amendment because they would not stop him from doing this. We have the right, and at that point I didn't even know about this, but I had the right to say, The Bill of Rights says that I will have a speedy trial. And this is not speedy, it's been going on for 12 years. Okay? It's funny, it says if a controversy exceeds over $20, you have a right to a jury trial. This is quite a few years ago. And my bill was $250,000 for the amount of times I went to court. That's how much I paid my attorneys. Yeah, speedy trial, my you know what. That we have a right, you cannot give excessive force or excessive discipline to people who have committed crimes. There are some crimes, and pedophilia, I think, is one that should probably be millstone around the neck and the person thrown into the deepest sea. Because that person will be scarred, unless Jesus comes in, and be scarred forever and ever. Constitution confirms the rights of the people, and the Constitution needs to be maintained. Again, it's laws that protect Americans, protect people in this country. So there's freedom in the law. So stop believing all those lies. That freedom is lawlessness. No, it isn't. Because you're usurping all those people in Chop or Chad. They were usurping the rights of 100,000 people, tax-paying, destroying their businesses, destroying their lives, terrorizing them night and day, screaming and fighting in the streets, gunshots flying and bottles and all kinds of rockets and crap, with not any protection from the police for those folks. Okay. The last in the 10th Amendment is the U.S. federal government. The power shall not exceed the Constitution nor prohibit states from governing their own people. So, right now you're going like, okay, why isn't God doing about Chop and Chad and now Portland is being vandalized by the same people who just moved south. They went from Chaz or Chop to the federal buildings down in Portland. Now they're graffitiing everything and trying to beat out the windows and burn the cars all around. You know what's going to happen to our insurance rates? With all these people vandalizing police cars and all the other cars that are sitting around?
Yeah.
They're going to go up because the insurance rates are going to go up because of all the vandals. The insurance on your properties and on businesses. You know what's going to happen? Now you're going to have terror insurance. It's perfect. Driving up the cost for everybody. And these guys that are probably just enjoying not working at all. They're just terrorists. Perfect. Okay. I want to talk to you quickly about, actually I have to say two. I'll get to that. The 10 Commandments. There's 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, and there's 10 commandments of God. I'm going to run through them really quick so that you know. We're going to turn to those. Let me give you a few comments first. First of all, whatever you're doing, whatever your thought process is, we're going to go to Isaiah 57, 20 and 21 first. You're going to be a slave to lawlessness, or you're going to be a slave to the law. Just get it out of your mind that you're not going to be a slave. You're going to do what's right and serve God, or you're going to do what's wrong and serve the devil. I'm a love slave for Jesus, but I'm certainly not a pawn of the devil, and he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, John 10:10. Jesus comes, he's going to bring life to you, he's going to bring blessing, he's going to bring tremendous things to you if you follow the Son of God. But if you follow the other guy, he's going to kill you, steal, destroy, he's going to annihilate you. That's what he does it well. You can look at the lives around and just see. Okay, so you're going to either be bound to Lucifer, or you're going to be bound to Jesus, and depending on who you choose, you're going to go up or you're going to go down forever. Just so you know what hell is, I'll just tell you. Hell is like a lava lake, and you'll be thrown in there, probably on a little piece of ground. the center of the earth, which we know is a big hollow ball with a bunch of lava in it, right? And what will happen is you're going to be salted with lava, and it will burn all your skin off. And then it says where the fire will not be quenched and the worm will not die, the worms are going to eat you when you're not burning. So you either get the fire burning all your skin off, or the worms will eat you, or simultaneously. Does that sound like forever and ever and ever and ever a lot of fun? Pretty sure not. You're going to be bound to Lucifer. If you travel down his pathway, he will steal, kill, and destroy from you, and he will love every second of it. He hates mankind because they were made in the image of God. He's an archangel. He's a created being. But Jesus was made in the form of a man, not an angel. And he hates mankind because Jesus died for you because he loves you. So he tries to hurt Jesus by harming you. If he can harm you, it hurts Jesus' heart because Jesus loves you and he died for you because he loves you so much. See, that's the deal. In the autonomous zone, real quick and chop, freedom to autonomous means free to govern themselves. Well, that little experiment turned out with murders and shootings and vandalism and terror and graffiti all over concrete, everythingers. And basically, it looked like some kind of homeless brothel going on. There were rapes there. And these people, 100,000 people, are being terrorized by a bunch of nuts. Little experiment in the autonomous zone. You know how many complaints were filed in under 4 weeks? 12,000. It ran from 6/8 to 7/1. 3 weeks. 6 people injured and 4 injured, 2 dead. 12,000 complaints. Telling them that they will pay for protection. Okay? We're mafioso. We're real autonomous, yeah? We're going to govern ourselves. We're just nothing but a bunch of terrorists. Durkin calls it, she's the mayor, a block party or a love fest. How about the black boy laying there bleeding out, and the ambulance can't get there because there's barricades around it? You think he thought it was a love fest? A block party? Vandalism, armed guards, rapes, 14 and 16-year-old boys killed. They weren't even 18. They didn't even make it to the age of voter age.
Yeah.
Really sick. And you know how many were African Americans? Black Lives Matter? 5 in one day. That's a big pile of crap, isn't it? Isaiah 57 verse 20 and 21. But the wicked are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. You see, the reason why you get all covered with filth from these guys is because they're like the wicked that just keep casting more dirt, more mud, more vandalism, more rapes, more deaths. Okay? The problem is they're wicked, so to make an autonomous zone, there's going to be nothing but wickedness because the people in charge are wicked. Dirt and mire up on top of people. That's what these people did. They just cast filth all over. They had to take bulldozers in there to get all the crap off those streets and tents and garbage and all this stuff. There is no peace, saith my God, for the wicked. You can't bring peace when you don't have God inside you because you got Satan in you and he's the prince of evil. You're not going to have anything but evil when people that are in charge are evil. They're going to cast up wicked mud and mire. You're going to be just covered in filth, just like those poor people in the autonomous zone, because the people in charge were wicked. That's how it works. On June 7th, person was shot. Okay. This was even before they started. June the 8th, by June the 20th, there was one dead. He was a 16-year-old boy. June 21st, a 17-year-old was shot critically. June 23rd, a Cairo TV person was critically injured, shot. He was there trying to report on Chop or Chaz or whatever the heck. June 29th was the fourth shooting of a 16-year-old boy who died, and another 14-year-old boy who was critically injured. Right? Autonomous zone held by wicked people who cast up muck and mire all over the folks. Okay? Lawlessness is not freedom, it's oppression. Look at what they did. Because the character of the people was so poor, how could they make a time and what? For only themselves? They oppressed everybody else. Really sad. Okay. The Ten Commandments. We're going to run through this. Exodus 20, verses 1 to 17. See, there's 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights, and there's 10 commandments. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to read fast, okay? And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which hath brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. They were slaves in Egypt. Pharaoh was wicked. He beat them. He made them do blocks. Look at Abu Simbel. Look at the Giza pyramids. Who do you think built all of that? Ramses II with on the backs of the Jewish slaves. You think he was fair, equitable? No. He beat them, he killed them, he starved them, he harmed them while they built shrines and monuments. If you go to Egypt, which I've been there, you will see shrines to Ramses II all over the entire country. You will. And guess who built all those? The Jews. In slavery. I said to the Egyptian archaeologist, I said to him, I said, oh, the Jews. He said, oh, they were paid. And I looked at him, I said, what? Of course they weren't paid. They were slaves. And I tell you what, Satan won't be any better to you either. You're going to work for him, and he's going to exact from you all the life you have, all the money you have, all the health you have, and then he'll kill you because he's wicked. You can't serve him and come out well. It won't happen. Right? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. There's number one. Thou shalt not make unto me any graven images. There's number two. Okay, don't worship the homunculus, turtles and the thing, sharks. Don't do that. There's one God. Those are animals. My God, what's wrong with you? That's a symbol of my family. What, they eat people? So your symbol is devouring people? It's nuts. Don't do it. It's ridiculous. Don't make graven images or any of the likeness of anything that is in heaven above, so that it, or in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the sea. I think that'd be sharks, probably in turtles. Pretty sure God said, don't do that. Okay? Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and the fourth generations of them that hate me. Sometimes people are like, oh, what? Things my health is crumbling and things are all messed up. And, well, they visited down here on the Kua. I mean, you're the third or fourth generation. You're just getting pounded. Because God says, don't do this. Don't do it. Idolatry. Don't do it. And showing mercy upon thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. You want mercy, you want your life to straighten up, you want things to go, then follow God's commandments so that you have a fighting chance. Run away from that stuff. There's only one God. And He made you, every hair on your head, every cell in your body, everything. He knows you. He knit you together in your mom's womb. No one knows you like He knows you. And He certainly isn't a shark, and He's definitely not a turtle. Okay? Just so we got that clear. Verse 7, Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. And you hear people go, Jesus Christ. Well, He's not a swear word. He's not slang. He's a person. They could go, Ruth Carter. Okay. Taking my name in vain because they hate me. You use his name with respect because he's God. Silly people. Don't do that. And then you get the spirit of profanity, and every other word is F, 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 F. And you talk to some people, and about every other word is a go, do you have anything else in your vocabulary? Is there, could you please give me 3 sentences without your favorite nasty word in it, please? Or the other day someone wanted some clams or something, and so we were down eating at the fish hopper, and Mary had little clams. She said, I'm gonna tell this man there's some pretty little clams here. He wanted clams for vongole. Vongole, it's clam sauce with linguine or spaghetti. So she texts him. What does he say?
He said, those are too effing small.
Too effing small. And she goes, I'm blocking his number. Okay. You're not going to be swearing at me when I'm trying to tell you where you could get some clams because you said you wanted them. That is a sign of lack of good mentality that you have about 4 words in your vocabulary and you can only just interchange them. That is, I'm a nurse, okay, and I have to talk pidgin. I talk pidgin with the people. If I, shishi, you know, Japanese, you put it in a jar, you know. Whatever will get through the message, but I don't use slang to talk to people because I have more mentation than that. There's no reason for that. It's not intelligent to use the same 4-letter word repeatedly. It's unintelligent. And if that particular word means something, is taking out of context something that is the most beautiful sacred act on the face of the planet. A sacred act of love, where you give yourself one to another, body, soul, and spirit. And Satan has turned that into some nasty 4-letter word, and it offends me every time I hear it. Because what is between a man and woman, a married man and woman, is the most holy and sacred thing that God ever designed. Okay? So I'm not into that. And it's dumb. It's just simply dumb. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Alright? The Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. That's number 6. Keep the Sabbath holy. There's one day a week you gotta go, Jesus, this is the day I'm going to talk with you a lot. I'm going to do a little bit of worship. We're not going to go buy and sell and do a bunch of things. We're going to spend the day with you because you are our God. And go have a picnic. You can take the kids, go to the beach. But the day is given to Jesus to love him and to talk with him and spend time with him. Number 7. This is a big one. 7, I'm just going to jump down. I guess 7 is honor thy father and mother, that thy days may be long. When you honor your parents, it doesn't mean that if your mom is a Jezebel and she's pulling your chain and she's harming you every time you talk to her. That does not mean that you just take abuse from your parents. Because some of our parents are kind of ill. It means that if you can help them, you do. You don't retaliate if they are unreasonable. You try to protect them in their old age if you can at all. If there's any way to make them safe so they're not hurting themselves. Because when they get aged, they get like little kids. You know? My dad was over in a trailer over in Washington, and I brought him over because he wasn't eating. He was getting pneumonia all the time. He had diabetes and all kinds of stuff. So I brought him over, and I took care of him 5 years. Just kept him with me because he had diabetes and his toenails cut, and we needed to make sure he ate right because of the diabetes, and so I just took care of him. And this means you honor them and try to protect them if you can. Okay. This is number 6. Thou shalt not kill. Sometimes in times of war, we have to do things that we prefer not to do, to protect our families or to protect our country. But God is saying, if at all possible, don't kill. Don't kill another human if you can help it. Sometimes if they attack you and there's something that they have the devil inside, they're gonna try to harm you or your family, it's right for you to defend your family. You should. And if it means the only way to stop them is to kill them, then you may have to do that because of the wickedness that is pervasive in this earth. But God says, do not kill if you can help it at all. Humans. Number 7, thou shalt not commit adultery. Well, this is a big thing for a whole bunch of people. It's like, we don't want to get married here. We'll just have 15 children, and we'll just we don't even know who the kids belong to or anything. But we'll just have a whole bunch of kids with a whole bunch of guys. And you know, when I was at your place this last week, I talked to 2 guys, and I said, "Tell me about yourself." And the guy goes, "Yeah, my mom and the new guy didn't want me, so sent me to the boys' home and just put me there. I never even saw him anymore. Never seen his parents because she married a new dude and didn't want that kid because he didn't want to have that boy in his home. Only his own kids." The other guy said, "Yeah, my mom gave me away with one relative. Never had any relationship with them at all." You see, look at how she lays with her grandchild. The love. When people are robbed of love, like you put a baby in a crib and you never give them any love, pretty soon they're antisocial and they can't even stand the human touch. This is what happens when we give our children away like they're nothing. It's terrible. It's terrible. But when we kill the infants that are not born, the unborn children, we hardly care about the ones that are born. The whole mindset is, who in the world cares? They're just a child. Oh, God cares. They're really precious in His sight. They're precious. Because the 8th one is, thou shalt not steal. You know? That means what you work for, you have a right to. What somebody else works for is not yours. These are very fundamental, basic things. If you work and Grandma gives you $2 because you help her, that's your money because you worked. But the rest of the money in Grandma's purse belongs to her. Sometimes people get addictions. They steal because they got to buy their stuff. Okay? But the point is, the stuff's going to kill them, and then they won't have to steal. Because Satan will make them more and more and more and more addicted. Every time they take a dose, they'll get a little more addicted. They'll start falling in love with their drug, not with people anymore. People don't matter. Only my drug matters. You can do anything to anybody because my drug matters. I'm in love with my drug. We don't have any need for people other than if they have some money that they could give me my drug. So they change their loyalty and their love for their substance rather than for the people. I have news for you. God has the power to break that addiction and to stop that. You're supposed to love people and use money, not use people and love money. You're going to have one lonely life unless you get that one straight. Number 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay? Don't tell stories on the neighbors. Don't tell stories on other people. If you need to talk to them, then talk to them. Sit down and go, hey, got a problem here. But you don't need to tell everybody else about their problem. You just tell them. And if it's something that legally you have to do something with, then do it. Tell them, warn them, and then jump on that thing. Okay? Number 10, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, or his wife, or his maidservant, his manservant, his goodies. The guy down there trying to protect his big mansion, and here comes 300 BLM people, and they're stringing them. We're gonna do this to you, we're gonna do that, and he's standing there with his heavy artillery. And they would if he hadn't had the right to bear arms. God's 10 commandments. 10 of those amendments in the Bill of Rights. I want to talk about one other thing, if I can. So freedom is not freedom without laws. If there's no laws, there's nothing but anarchy and oppression and enslavement of the people. the laws in the U.S. are meant to keep us living in a healthy and a powerful way. The laws in this book are meant to keep us living in a healthy way, a successful and a healthy way. The reason God has written this to you and I is so that we can be a success, that our marriages can survive, that our children will be healthy and strong, that we'll be able to amass some benefits and leave a little something for the children as we jet off the planet. This is keeping His rules and His laws will make you a success. Let's talk about Mr. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They're in the news right now, shall we? We'll just do this and then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to talk to you about the Pledge of Allegiance. I think you guys know this. It used to be when I was a little child, like Joaquin's age, we'd put our hand over our heart every morning going to school. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all. Okay? With liberty and justice for all. Undivided. Do you know what's happening right now politically? That they're trying to divide us so that, and ruin the justice system so that there is no justice? Let chaos in all of these blue states just prevail, burning down the capitals and burning up the police stations, that there will be a lawlessness.
And the statues.
And the statues, dumping them on their faces. Graffiti, spray paint all over. Abraham Lincoln, Black Lives Matter. He laid down his life. He was a martyr for those people. They killed him because he wanted everybody to be equal. They killed him for this. Okay? And they're spray painting his statue. Oh, I mean, are these people moronic or is it just my imagination? He is the reason there's equity for every skin color. And they spray paint the Lincoln Memorial. This is crazy. They want to divide us. They want to make sure there's no more liberty. They want to have autonomous zones where terrorists rule and reign and oppress all of the law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. Okay? This is what we're looking at, right? And a house divided against itself will fall. That's what the Bible says. That's Matthew 12:25. A house that's divided. You cut a house down the middle, what happens to it? Yeah, it falls. And they're trying to cut our country down the middle, saying, we don't have enough freedom here. We have to have anarchy instead so we can be really free, which means enslavement of righteous people and freedom for criminals. Let's just let them all go. You know, some of these people, they've had 450 arrests and 250 of those are repeat offenders that they let out of the prisons in New York. One 92-year-old woman, they bashed her head in and took her purse. She's on the street trying to get in a car. Oh, well, that makes no sense. Because without laws, this is what will reign. Every old person that's frail will have their head bashed in and all their money ripped out of their purse. Probably she had $25. She was probably on Social Security, and they killed her for it. How stupid. How stupid. The Pledge of Allegiance was actually written in during the Civil War time, 1861 to 1865. And it actually was originally written by someone named George Thatcher Balch. I didn't know that till I looked at today. My mother's maiden name was Balch. Isn't that a funny name?
Something.
Balch.
Spelled the same?
B-A-L-C-H, yeah. And then later on, this Bellamy, he was the one that wrote the Pledge of Allegiance, and he used the format of George Thatcher Balch, which was written during the Civil War. Let's talk about Epstein real quick. Ghislaine Maxwell was just picked up today, and she was the madam for the largest, as far as I know, the largest sex trafficking ring in the world. Okay. Epstein had houses. He had a pedo island, pedophilia island, Little St. James. He had places in Texas. He had a huge house in New York. He had a place in Florida. He had a place in Paris, France. And he would traffic these young girls, and they would act interested in them, and they were from poor homes, but maybe pretty. And they said, you know, we'll give you a college education, take them on some shopping sprees, and groom them sexually to be exploited around rich people. And he would traffic them in his own private jet, the Lolita Express, and he trafficked them all over the world. And he had cameras in every single one of his houses. And so then he'd give all these children to these high-profile people. He kept company with presidents, the wealthy elite, royals, Supreme Court justices, all kinds of people, upper echelon, came to his island on the Lolita Express. Bill Clinton was logged in 21 times, taking the Lolita Express, headed to Pedo Island. Later on, as they picked up Epstein and they put him in jail, a bunch of tapes came forward that the whole island was carved out with all these huge tunnels and caves beneath, and he kept cameras on all the time, and the footage of all these children sitting on top of little buckets in these tiny little robes in all of these places, just a storehouse of children that had been abducted and that were waiting to be terrorized by the wealthy elite. And these beautiful girls. There's pictures of one of the royals that was with, and there's people coming forward. When he was picked up, finally, the women who had been terrorized by him in the hundreds, I might add. The first time he was picked up was in 2005. And he got a little slap on the wrist and said, don't do that anymore. House arrest for like 6 months or something, like with a little bracelet on his ankle. He had already trafficked hundreds and thousands of girls. But the wealthy elite and the judges let him go because they were part and parcel. Then finally, he's picked up in July of 2019, and they put him in prison, and either he's dead or he's somewhere else. But I think he spilled his guts, and he gave them everything they all wanted to know about every wealthy elite person, because he had tapes. He had tapes that he was using for blackmail. And so all these tapes went, of course, to the White Hats or to those that want actual justice. And so they have all the information there. Then Ghislaine Maxwell, his madam, she met him in 1994. Do you know why Epstein was never prosecuted? Because all of these wealthy elites were part of it. Let me give you the names of the presidents. Everybody knew this is one of the most well-kept secrets of the elites. Everyone knew, but it was supposed to be a secret. And nobody prosecuted it. Okay? So Clinton was president. He made 21 trips on the Lolita Express to the Pedo Island to harm little children, underage girls or boys or whatever he chose, I guess, because there was an assortment of everything. George Bush was president 2001 to 2010. He didn't do anything about this guy. He was picked up and a little slap on his wrist in 2005. Halfway through George Bush's, didn't do anything. And everyone knew. Everyone knew. Then you have Obama, 2010 to 2016. Oh, you can't touch this guy. It wasn't until Trump came in office that they picked him up and they charged him and they put him in jail. The wicked cast up the muck and mine all over you. Just keep wicked, just keep this putting muck. Hundreds and thousands of young women were trafficked. They picked up Ghislaine Maxwell, which was his madam, and she was the procurer of these beautiful young women, and she would groom them to have sex with Epstein. He'd be the first guy that would have them, then he'd pass them off to his friends. They picked her up in a large estate that she'd bought for over $1 million in New Hampshire a couple nights ago. She had 15 bank accounts, with over $20 million in each one. They made their money off the prostitution of minors, selling children. Even on the regular web, these people are so moronic. This Elefantes, who is a Rothschild, he's protected by the Rothschild family. He has that Comet Pizza. There was something he tweeted out about, we've got several that have been well used, so we'll give a reduction in price at only $5,000 a piece. They may not last very long, but you'll have fun while they do. This was on his Twitter account. He's talking about these young kids that have been so used that they're just about goners, but he's going to sell them at a discount. Human trafficking is a bigger problem today than slavery ever was. People had slaves and they kept them helping, they kept them strong because they served, to do the crops and they served in the households. Now they're selling them and parting them out. The Chinese right now, there's whole villages missing in northern China that the people have had their organs removed in organ harvesting and they're all dead. You can ask China, you can call over and need a heart. How much was the hearts?
150,000.
150,000. Kidneys were 60,000 a piece, I think, weren't they? Something like that. Do you know what is happening here? Can you wake up and smell the coffee and understand that this wicked, wicked devil has got so many people of the elite in his grip that they're selling the human race for cold hard cash?
And there's children missing on this island.
Oh, plenty. More missing. I talked to Dawn and she said there are more missing children here now than there's ever been. Right, Dawn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look at how she's walking, loving her little child. You see, we have come to a place where drugs were okay. We could run drugs and make a lot of cash. We make a lot more money selling humans for whatever purpose. Okay? This is where we are. We need to pray. She had 3 passports, 15 accounts with 20 million a piece in. She's been doing this with Epstein since 1994. 26 years selling humans for sex or ritual abuse or whatever people want. Sex trafficking ring lasted 26 years. The FBI and all of these presidents turned a blind eye, didn't prosecute, didn't do anything about it. And some of them were part and parcel, like Clinton 21 times, to that island on the Bermuda Express. Bill Gates went there. Supreme Court justices, royals, wealthy elite, presidents involved in this wickedness.
And even the Disney ship with kids on it.
Yeah, the Disney ship coming from Florida would stop past Pedo Island. Off the edge of that island, Little St. James, is a whole bunch of human bones in the water. Off one edge of the island, of the children that were killed, murdered, and maimed or sacrificed. Do you always preach like this? About this. Let's just review this real quick and then we'll be done. Slavery comes from the chaos of lawlessness. Was Mr. Epstein, was Ghislaine Maxwell, were their rights more important than the thousands of people they mutilated, they harmed, they sold into sexual slavery, or they killed? No. Without justice, without righteous judgment and justice in America, all of the elderly, all of the children will suffer because of the victimization of the 2 weaker groups of people. This is why lawlessness is not freedom. Lawfulness is freedom and safety for our children and for our elders. Look at Cuomo. He moved all those COVID-19 patients and all these 5 Democratic states straight from the hospital with COVID-19 into the nursing homes. He mandated that they would go into the nursing homes, and he killed off thousands and thousands of elderly people because they were in a weakened condition. This is called euthanasia. The man used to be prosecuted and put behind bars. He killed off thousands of elderly people in nursing homes
As the governor of New York.
as the governor. He mandated this move.
But he took his parents out
He
of
took
the,
his parents out strangely before he wrote that into litigation. He took his parents, he removed them. He let everybody else's parents die. These guys they're barbarians. They're wicked monsters. So the state of New York is not going to be able to have anything but muck and mire thrown out all over those people because he doesn't value the innocent lives. He doesn't value the elderly. He killed thousands. And those 5 blue states did the same thing. So the sex trafficking ring, 26 years, the FBI turned their blind eye. Okay? The presidents and people, well-known people, turned a blind eye, and they were part and parcel and being blackmailed by this pedophile ring, human trafficking ring, making millions and millions and millions of dollars. 15 accounts, 20 million was $300 million. And she had $1 million on her in cash when they found her. In cash. Just carrying around a suitcase full of money. Okay? Freedom comes from lawfulness, obeying God's laws and our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. 10 and 10. 10 amendments to protect us. 10 laws of God to protect us. Slavery comes from the chaos of lawlessness. Slavery of 100,000 people in the Chaz autonomous zone. Held hostage for over 3 weeks. Threatened and abused. That's Satan coming to steal, kill, and destroy, sweetie. Obey the laws. Obey grandma. Obey your mama. Obey God. Because if not, you'll be destroyed. There's only 2 choices. Obey God, God's laws, obey the laws of the land, or be destroyed. So slavery of hundreds of thousands of sex trafficked victims over the 26 years. People, now that she's in prison and can't hurt them, probably thousands will come forward. Thousands of people whose life, being able to have a beautiful, trusting relationship, a marital relationship in which you can trust the other person. No can. Broken. My trust button shattered. Not even a button there to push. Only God can heal those people. Slavery from lawlessness. Let's turn to Romans, Romans 13, 1 and 2, and we'll be done. You're like, wow, why are you doing all this? Why are we doing this? Because this is current. This is hot off the press. This is what is happening today. This is happening right now. They picked Ghislaine Maxwell up on Thursday. Yesterday. 13, 1 and 2. Romans 13, 1 and 2. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive themselves damnation. He's talking about resisting the powers of law. Resisting your state's laws, your country's laws. There'll be just lawlessness. And it goes on to say, God puts people in charge of countries, and it's his plan to protect the people in that country by putting a head over the top of it. He puts ministers over congregations so that if the people get in trouble, someone's there to help them. He puts a shepherd with sheep, because if they break a hoof, if they get a bad case of worms, if they're up high and they're having trouble having the babies, a shepherd will help them. It's God's ways to put someone in charge that will help. And the laws are there to protect you and give you freedom. Lawlessness is slavery, but lawfulness is freedom. So get over the lies that you have believed. Without the laws of God and the laws of justice, there will be slavery for everybody. Just like there were all these children that were perfect. Let's pray. Oh, holy God, we are unworthy. We are unworthy people. We have all sinned and we've all fallen short of the glory of God. Oh, that's for sure. And it's not too late to turn back. It's not too late to change. It's not too late to change our thinking into lawfulness that brings freedom. It is not too late to change the lies that we have believed. Oh, holy God, I pray that Joaquin will learn to obey, because there's freedom for him, and his mother will trust him, and later on he will have extensive freedom if he keeps obeying her now. God will give us more and more freedoms, more and more liberty, more and more prosperity. He'll give us everything we need as soon as we're trustworthy enough to be able not to ruin ourselves with his blessings. So change our minds, change our hearts, for we have believed lies. And I pray, Lord, that each person will walk away with a new appreciation for the Bill of Rights, for God's Bill of Rights and his 10 Commandments. That we will pull ourselves into obedience to the law and to God's commands, because then the blessing will be ours. The freedom, the liberty, and the joy of pulling ourselves off the garbage heap of life of those that have believed the lie that lawlessness is freedom, because that is a lie from the pit. And we ask you, Jesus, to change our hearts and minds right now, in Jesus' name, and correct us strongly, that we will be a people blessed of God. In your holy name, amen.